Cuba.
So we're happy to welcome Gloria again to Minnesota. All of us, a bunch of us are friends and see Gloria every time we can.
And a dog.
What?
And a dog.
A dog.
And a dog, yes.
Yes,
And there's a
Carla's
very
dog.
famous dog that
I'm
adores
quite
Gloria and Gloria adores. And so we're just happy to have her here. And what I'm going to ask you to talk about two things, just what you're doing now and your work, but also about just what it's been like the last week in
I
Cuba.
want to say thanks. Muchas gracias for all the support that I received in all these years. Because we are talking about a conversation with my grandmother, that I was here, and you get many stuff, many items that I need for the film, the costume. We went to the Somalia market and we get a costume for the Grupo Vocal Baobab. We get many things, and also for this project about the Oblate Sister, the angels, son of the angels, that I know that I was telling, I need black angels, how can I get black angels? And the angels arrived.
5 of us, each delivered an angel.
Yeah, most of us in the room.
But I think Carla found them online.
Carla found them.
The
So-
challenge was getting them on the airplane.
And you see that the presence of the angels have a meaning inside the film. So thanks to all this support, I was able to develop the poetry that I want to present in the film. Because to make documentaries is not easy, especially when you want to present a message, that is not just people talking and, you need to put some music, some poems, something different, some spirituality that's the characteristic of my film. And last year, you know that I have been working in the Film Institute for 45 years, and I decided to make a retirement. It's a way to get some money every month, especially now that we have a very interesting situation in the country. But it was impossible to keep quiet totally and do nothing. As I said yesterday, just to go to make exercise with the elders of my neighborhood, to make Tai Chi, to do something at home that I am not interested to make clothes, to do artesania, no. I want to continue, especially because of my commitment with the history of Cuba, the love that I have for this country. And every time that I get in touch with one chapter of the Cuban history, I fall in love, I discover, I feel that I need to do something more. But not only for me, the people that work around me, they fall in love with the project because it's something that never we listened before, never we knew before. Even we made studies at the university, in music school, I never heard about this kind of thing. So the video group, the name is Image of the Caribbean, IMACARIB. And we don't have resources, but we have the desire, to continue working around chapters of the Cuban history. And we are working now in the participation. What happened with the black soldiers that went to fight for Cuba independence in 1898? They went to Cuba. They were fighting for our independence. Why? For what reason? What was the desire, the mobilization, a group of black people, soldiers, to go to Cuba? So yesterday we have an interesting conversation in Carla's house with El Negrito, the dog, close to me, all the time to see if we can get something to eat. We have an interesting conversation because in Cuba, we don't have information about the black soldiers. It's true that they were part of the US Army that arrived to Cuba in 1898, but the Cuban historian didn't take care very much of them. And I realized that something happened to this black soldier that they feel like the commitment. With whom? With Antonio Maceo. With Antonio Maceo, the black leader of the revolution, he came to United States as soon as we finished the first part of the war in 1878. It was the first visit of Maceo to New York, and he went to New Orleans, Tampa, Key West, and then they returned many other times. I remember in 1884, and many people followed him. He was the hero. He was a black hero of the revolution. It's true that we talk a lot about Jose Marti, but somebody that was very well known, and many people in Cuba, they don't know the influence of Antonio Maceo, especially here in this country, that many people start naming Maceo to their children. So it is something that we need to remark, because I was thinking, for example, when Fidel came here to Teresa Hotel, no? And in Harlem. But we need to talk a little more about the things, pages of history that happened before. Fidel was here to collect money for the revolution. He came, he stayed in Harlem. But talking about 19th century, this is an interesting page. Antonio Maceo was received by the Anti-Slavery Society because he was fighting for the independence of Cuba and the abolition of slavery. So there are so many things, that we need to put together and clarify for the history. I was told yesterday that it will be fiction document. A project that will include fiction and documental. I am not going to make interviews like in the Oblate Sister, but I will work with memories that will arrive through newspaper, through the music. You know that when the black soldiers arrived to United States, to Cuba, they brought the banjo. It was the early jazz that we listen in Cuba, the banjo. But the banjo get together with the tres, this kind of Cuban guitar. So we need to talk and express, this kind of cultural exchange that happened. It was the battle, but also the culture that happened. Talking about the black newspaper, I realized that some of the black soldiers, especially after the war, the 8th Illinois volunteer, the 23rd Kansas volunteer, and another group from Louisiana, they arrived to Cuba, and some of them, they married in Cuba. They fall in love with the Cuban nation. They realize about another kind of relation between people, more mixed people. Some of the writers, I don't have the list of the writers, they wrote poems about the participation of the black soldiers, and they see much opportunities to working in the land and everything in Cuba, and they don't want to go back because we are talking about 1898, 1899, 1902. What they have here, it was a Jim Crow. So some of them, they want to stay in Cuba. So it's a history that it will be very difficult to talk about because all the information is here. So I am trying to become crazy, Gary, all of you with the information that I will need to create a language of narration where I can put newspaper, memories, fiction, and inside the fiction, I will organize a house that somebody that lives in the south of the United States, Alabama, Mississippi, and in this house, that old soldier will get inside the memories of that war in 1898. So we have ways to narrate this, but one of the things that I need to get here is the things, the items that I need to put inside this house that can identify that we are in the south of the United States. Of course, indoor. Never I will do anything outdoor. Indoor. If it's a fabric, if it's an old magazine, if it's a lamp, things that I will need to buy here, or maybe you have an idea about the kind of fabrics, because we can get, for example, this furniture, but if you put some fabric, it's a modern furniture, but if you can put some fabrics that was made in the South, and I don't need anything new, no, old stuff. It will work. Nothing new. I don't need anything new. So maybe you can help to this new dream that will talk that the best of this country always work with Cuban. Always. They have the desire to prove that they were able to build something in Cuba, because they fall in love with the country. And we are talking about 1898. And we continue in the present. What is the name of this project? My War, Mi Guerra, because it's the war that hasn't finished. So I am talking about the past, but I am talking about the present also. So this is a little introduction. It's a lot of work to do, but living in Cuba with a hard situation, economical situation, it's transportation, it's food, it's medicine, it's so many things at the same time. But it's interesting how many of us, we still have the desire, la voluntad to continue and talking about, please don't forget, in spite of all these difficulties that we have, don't forget the dignity and the sovereignty of this country that cost so much blood, so much sacrifice, you know? I belong to a very humble family. My father was a shoemaker. My mom studied with the Oblate system, but she was in the not the regular school, the night school. So she learned how to make clothes, and I grew up inside the Chinatown, in Chinatown. I grew up between Chinese, black people, Jews, everybody together.
In Cuba?
Sí, in Havana.
Huh?
In Havana.
Barrio Chino?
Sí, el barrio chino. And the first
Tenemos
school,
mucha experiencia.
one of the school of the Oblate system was in the barrio chino. Our Lady of Charity school was in Chinatown. For that reason, many Chinese, you know, Chinese in Cuba, they mix with black women, with mulattoes. It was a mix. They put their children with the Oblate system. So I grew up in that kind of mixed culture, with respect, with love, and I was born in 1953, the same year of the Moncada attack, so I am 71 years old. And I studied music first, piano. I was not good in piano. And I finished the middle level in the music school, and then I went at a university, because my fathers, especially my grandmother, said, you need to study everything. Everything. Is his language, is his university, is his piano, is his everything. We don't have to pay. And she were not able to study. So I belong to a very humble family, where they say, the revolution opened the doors, you have to study. And Magali, my sister, she teaches piano. And Jesus, my brother, he studied in Germany. He speaks no English, but German. And he works in tour system in Cuba tour in Cuba. So all of us, we were able to, we support the revolution, a revolution that was not perfect, not at all. Many mistakes in the middle, but it's our country. It's our country, and all of us, all of the members of my family, we are there and suffering and happy and, and living the daily life of a regular Cuban. Because working in the Film Institute since 1976, when I finished at the university, I don't belong to the film school. I was start learning, working with different directors. And I was lucky that in that moment that I went to the Film Institute, Cuban history was a very important chapter, and Cuban culture, and documentaries. So I belong to that kind of school, that respect and knowledge, and to get a sense of the Caribbean country. For that reason, one of my films is related with the migration of people from Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago. My footsteps in Baragua. And Baragua is a town in the province of Ciego de Avila, where I found the so-called English people, that they came from Jamaica, Barbados, and they were still dancing the maypole or singing songs like Matilda, because they came to work around the sugar mill. And this is something that I realized we need to talk about this kind of migration, why we have so many black people in Cuba with English names, because they came here because Cuba was considered the promised land. And we are talking about the 20s. The sugar industry was the most important. At that time, who owns the sugar mill? Americans company. Cubans also, but it was the time of the United Fruit Company. So a lot of history. So I belong to that kind of generation that respect and fall in love with the Cuban history. And I don't care if I need to get thousands of quotes to come here to talk to you and say, okay, I want this, I want that, I want to do this, because it's love. I don't have any kind of privilege in my country. Yesterday, Carla was telling me, Gloria, do you drive your car? I never have access to a car. Never I had the possibility to have a car. I always move in public transportation and in all cars. So I have and you have been in my house, you have been in my small place. I think that the last time when you were there is worse now. More paper, more boxes, it's worse. But it's a place where I concentrate my friend to talk about this special island that is Cuba.
Thank you. So I want to just have two pieces of business. One is Gloria needs financial help with her work and with, she needs the stuff too. And I mean, we can all kind of look for what she was talking about, but she also needs financial help. And so I want to really encourage people to make a check or somehow give some money to Gloria to help her with her work. And so there's a basket over in by that front table, and if you can put the money in there, or maybe Franklin's gonna come and get it and pass it around. And
Do checks work?
yes, because the checks will go to the Minnesota Cuba Committee, and they'll get the money to Gloria.
So they should be made out to.
Yeah, the Minnesota Cuba Committee. Before she leaves, Franklin will make sure that she gets the cash.
So we should make the
Or you
check
can
out
give
to
cash to
Minnesota
begin with.
Cuba. Gloria
Or
and-
give her cash.
Cash, what a strange thing.
So, the other thing I just wanted to say for those of you who've never been in this building before, that this is C2O. And it's an organization I've been involved with since it started, and Simon works for C-Tool, and maybe you could just say what C-Tool is, because I don't know if everybody knows, so, just like in 2 sentences.
Yeah, 2 sentences.
Or
It is
3.
a workers center. So Situl organizes non-union, low-wage workers across Minneapolis and St. Paul to fight for better pay, better conditions in their job site, and to just become powerful worker leaders in their own industries and in their own job sites. So, simply put, 3 sentences.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Very academic.
And it's just a wonderful organization, and I've been really proud to have been involved with it. And C2 owns this building, which is kind of amazing when I think about when it started, where it was in a teeny little office with 2 people and had no money. So this is just great to be able to do the work they're doing. So the other thing is, again,